So you've been contracted to do, I'm sure, a lot of projects in that time.
Yeah, that's correct. I've been basically remodeling everything you can imagine, from garages to kitchens to bathrooms to complete houses.
So you called this family. When you spoke to Tim, what did he say initially?
He said he lives in Arizona, and he just bought a house in Jupiter, and they want to move in very soon. And he wants to build in the garage of the house he just bought in Jupiter an office, just like the office he's got in his garage in Arizona where he lives at the moment.
So you have this conversation, nothing seems weird or unusual at this point.
At this point, no. Actually, it started to look weird in some point, but not suspicious. I got only suspicious actually in the very end of the job when I was supposed to get paid, and he requested me to do something that got my attention. Yes.
So after he tells you about the project, I'm sure you give him a couple sketches, or does
No,
he?
he knew exactly what he wants. He knew the sizes that what he wants. He knew how to build it. He knew everything. He just wanted to get done as soon as possible and as quick as possible. And he gave me the measurement. Basically, what he wanted to build is a box, which is 8 by 8 foot, like a room. And no window, only a door, and then it started to get weird.
This is all a communication that you're having via text or via email. He sends you the measurements, everything. Before we get into all of that, what was the estimate? How much did you say it would cost?
I gave him an estimate, if I remember correctly, I gave him an estimate of $3,000, if I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's including all the materials and everything. And
agree to the project. Does he email you all these measurements and everything?
No. When we agreed the price, I gave him a price over the phone. He straight away agreed to the price, and he said, "When can you start?" And I said, "I can start tomorrow. I have a few people that I work with. I can work in multiple places at the same time."
So what day was this?
Oh, that's hard to remember.
But like roughly?
It was in the end of December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the first day you go to do this project.
Okay, so the agreement was that I'm gonna get to the house, to the place, and he will send his friend to meet me over there, and he's gonna open the door for us and show us, and from there we're gonna FaceTime him, and he's gonna explain to me everything, the way he wanted, etc., etc. And that's what we did. We went there, and he called his friend. His friend came to open the door for us. First thing that got my attention, it was that he let us into the garage through a side door that you can't see from the street, not from the main door of the garage, not from the main door of the house. And the whole time we was working there, the door from the garage to the house was locked. They didn't even let us to go to toilet or something like that. And he asked me specifically to keep the main door of the garage all the time closed, so nobody can see that he's building something over there. But I can still understand that, and it's not suspicious at that moment for me, because maybe he didn't want no one to know that he's building something. Maybe he didn't have the right permit for that. I don't know. So he asked me how long the job will take. I said I'll put all my team to it, and we can make it happen in 2 days. The first day to build the frame and put the drywalls and install the door. At that point, I asked him if he wanted me to open a window for that office, and he said no. And when I realized that there's no window, so I told them, because his AC unit is in the garage, I said, we can pull the AC to that office that you built. And he said, that's a good idea, but let me think about it. Maybe I will do it myself later. I said, okay. The next thing he asked me, after he gave me the measurement of the room, he asked me to build on top of that room a second ceiling, like the garage ceiling high is about 9 feet, if I remember correct. And he asked me to build a second ceiling on top of that room in a height of 7 feet, which leave a space between the two ceilings of 2 feet, and that way the main door of the garage can open and slide between them. And that was kind of weird, because either you can leave it open and get some air. Why to build another ceiling under it? You can just leave it open, the ceiling, under the ceiling garage, and build your walls up to 7 feet. And then you'll get some air coming in.
So he wanted to enclose it.
He wanted to seal it from all ways. Basically, he asked me to build a room that is sealed from anywhere. The only way to access, and the air to access to the room, is from that door. And that's what we did. I didn't ask too much question, but it looks weird to me at that point. So first day we built the framing of the room.
Was it insulated as well?
Excuse me?
Was the
Insulated? No.
No,
He didn't
so you
ask
just-
for installation.
Okay.
No.
So the first day you built,
We built the structure, the framing, and we put the drywall on it, and we plaster it, and we installed the door. And then the next day we came back, we sand everything, and we painted in and out.
there was a few things that you're like, okay, this is a little strange. Especially
Yeah,
'cause-
but I was not suspicious at that moment. It looks a little bit strange to build a box like that, but who knows? You want to keep your gold over there. I don't know.
When did it become strange to you?
It becomes strange to me actually in the very last moment of the job. Just before we left, I FaceTime him again to show him the work, and he was very happy with that. And he said, I have a few requests. Just before you leave, please do it, and then I'll pay you the rest of the money, and we're good to go. And I said, okay, what is it? And first thing he asked me is to drill a hole in the corner of the ceiling that we built of the room, to drill a hole in the corner so he can run a wire for a camera that will be at the corner of the room, so he can see through that camera all the room.
So he wanted you to build a hole
Just to
To in-
drill a hole.
to install a camera.
To install a camera. I didn't install the camera. He did that probably later.
But he told you that that's what it was going to be for.
Yeah. And he asked me if there is a way how we can connect it to the electricity. So next to that corner, it was the garage door, how to say, engine, which is connected to an outlet on the ceiling.
Okay.
So I said, I'll put the hole in this corner, which is close to that outlet, and you can run your wire straight to it. That was okay. I still was not suspicious. And then I asked him what else, and he said, he said, two more little things. I said, okay, what is it? He said, please go to the Home Depot, because the door that we build over there is an interior door. And interior doors, when you buy them at the Home Depot or wherever you buy your stuff, they come with a hole for a knob lock, like you have, like a handle lock that you have inside the house. And he was asking me to go quick to the Home Depot and buy a second lock, like a deadbolt, like you have in the front door of your house, like the top lock, and add it to the door. And I was still not suspicious, because I don't know what the guy wants to put in there. If he wants to keep it safe, that's normal. But the thing is, he asked me, after I came back and I installed the lock, he asked me to reverse the both locks so that the keyhole of the lock will be facing the interior of the room, and the knob locks will be facing the outside.
So you could lock it from the outside.
So you can lock it with the knob from the outside, but let's say you are inside the room, you can't get out if it's locked. And that's what got my attention. And when I was reversing those locks, I realized that when he asked me to install the light for that room, he asked me, where do you going to put the switch for the light? And I said, just when you open the door on your left, on the wall, like you have in every normal room. And he said, no, I want you to install the room in the outside wall of the room. And when I was reversing those locks, I got the picture of the switch outside, the two locks that are reversed, and the camera hole. And that's what got my attention. I remember I went back that day home, and I spoke to my flatmate, and I said, listen, something is wrong over there. Because what will be the reason for someone to want to reverse locks on an office in the garage, which is completely sealed? And the only reason I could come up with was that he wants to lock a person over there, not even an animal or something important or anything like that. Because if it's not a person, you have no reason to reverse the locks. Only if you lock in that room a person, you have a reason to reverse the lock. That way, the person who's locked in the room cannot come out when you lock him in. And that explained why he wanted the switch light to be outside, and that also explained why he wanted the second ceiling, so the person cannot escape. And also the camera, of course. At that moment, when I realized that, I decided to call the cops. I called the Jupiter police. It was an officer that answered me. I don't remember his name. And I told him the story. He said, it sounds very suspicious and interesting. And he said, I'm gonna look into it. And I said, okay.
So let's pause for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You finished the project in 2 days. That same night, you said you went home, you were having a conversation because you couldn't get it out of your mind that something here was wrong.
Couldn't sleep that night. I had a bad feeling. And
so you wake up the next morning, or?
I wake up the next morning, I went to work, and it was all day in my mind. And I think in the day after, I'm not sure, but as far as I remember, it was somewhere in the beginning of January. I'm not sure, I don't remember the dates. Yeah. I decided to call the police. And I spoke to an officer. He told me he's going to look into it. And after maybe a week or 10 days, don't catch me on the
Yeah.
timing.
So sometime like within 2 weeks, we'll say.
Yeah. I got a phone call from a detective. And he was asking me to repeat the story. And I told him the story. And I asked him, you as a detective, can you find me one reason for what I just told you? And he said, I agree. I cannot find any other reasons except somebody will be locked in there. And he asked me for my details. I gave him my details, and he said he's going to get back to me as soon as something happened.
So at this point, you've already you made that initial phone call to police.
Yes.
It's been about 2 weeks, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
The detective calls you back, but a crime hasn't been committed.
Yeah, that's correct.
So they can't really do much.
Yeah, the detective, when I was speaking to the detective, he mentioned that. He said, that sounds very suspicious. He agreed with my thought. But he told me that basically the only problem here is he cannot just go to the house and knock on the door and ask him to see their garage because it's not legal. He needs a reason to that.
Because a crime hadn't been essentially committed, like he told you, he couldn't go to the house.
Mm-hmm.
But you had an idea at that point.
I had an idea for him. I told him that basically the guy, Tim, the father, didn't pull up any permit to build that structure in the house. And my suggestion was to knock on the door with a city inspector with the detective, of course, and said, we heard from one of your neighbors that you built something without permit here and we would like to check it out. And that will be your way, detective, into the house. He said, it's a good idea. Okay, I'll take it to my mind. And that's it. That's how we finish our conversation.
You kind of pitched this idea to him to get them in there because you cannot get this situation out of your mind. I'm sure for weeks it's just still kind of...
I kind of relaxed when after I spoke to the police and by speaking to the officer and then after a while getting a phone call from a detective, I got the feeling that they're looking into it. So it calms me down a little bit.
If that kid is watching, or after this airs, if he happens to watch or someone that he knows watches, what would you say to him?
I would say I feel very close to you even that I don't know you. I've been through similar stuff in my childhood and I'm so happy for you, and I wish I will get to know your name and even to meet you in person. It will make me very happy, and be strong, little boy. That's it.